While the world's attention is on the Epstein files, sexual abuse and trafficking of children has been quietly taking place and protected at the highest level within the US military for decades, because this is a pattern of elite impunity and an imperial boomerang coming home to roost. Since 2021, dozens of US soldiers stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, many from elite units who served tours in Afghanistan, have just been arrested or convicted for serious sex crimes, including trafficking and raping of young boys and making financial gain from this practice. But they are only now being held accountable, while those at the very top walk free. These soldiers engaged in a practice called bazi, where older men exploit and enslave young boys, coercing them into cross-dressing, dancing, wearing makeup, and acting as sex slaves, to then record them and sell the explicit child pornography content. This is a network of abuse that we at MintPress News have just reported on in a major investigation. Sergeant Joshua Glairdon, for example, was just sentenced to 76 years in prison for crimes related to the production and distribution of child pornography. And his female accomplice was given 30 years in prison for procuring a child for him to use. Chief Warrant Officer Stuart P. Kelly was convicted of forcing a child under 12 years old to touch him on camera and was sent to jail for 16 years. But what makes this impossible to ignore is that these men served multiple tours in Afghanistan. Fort Bragg is a massive city-sized military base outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina, whose troops provided the backbone for the US military occupation in Afghanistan. During the US military occupation, American forces worked closely with local allies who engaged in bazi, who would buy or kidnap Afghan boys and force them to wear makeup and cross-dress, and then chain them up and sexually abuse them. US personnel repeatedly reported witnessing minors being held by Afghan police and officials on or near US compounds and were ordered to look the other way. In 2021, right at the end of the occupation, Washington finally admitted that everyone knew to be true. The State Department released a report where it admitted that for nearly 20 years, there existed a quote-unquote a government pattern of sexual slavery on government compounds, all carried out by US-trained and funded authorities. In plain English, children, especially boys, were being held in chains and used as sex slaves on US bases all over Afghanistan, and everyone from the State Department knew about it. And at Fort Bragg, court records show senior non-commissioned officers and commissioned officers receiving decades-long prison sentences for crimes involving minors, including repeated abuse and the online distribution of illegal material. Investigative journalist Seth Harp reports that since the Afghanistan withdrawal, cases involving child victims connected to elite units at Fort Bragg have only increased, and it's targeting American children. Former commanders say leadership knew this was happening. One whistleblower described how an officer accused multiple times of abusing a minor was not even prosecuted, but instead quietly transferred between units until the abuse happened again. And when charges were finally pursued, senior leadership intervened to shut the case down and offer administrative separation instead of criminal accountability. And abroad, the pattern was similar. This is the imperial boomerang all over again. Only now it's happening on US bases here in the US, and it's our children at risk.